So now it seems a baby is suing Nirvana. Okay, so there's a little bit of nuance here. As with all these things, it's not an actual baby suing Nirvana. General terms, babies don't sue people, at least not on their own. If you're of a certain age, and by that I mean if you're of a certain my age, you'll no doubt remember a famous blockbuster album back in '91 by Nirvana, who had burst onto the scene with grunge, and there was, baggy jumpers and all that kind of stuff, and greasy hair, and there was a whole thing going on back then. Anyway, Nirvana were in the forefront of this latest iteration of rock, if you like. And they came out with a classic album, Nevermind. Smells Like Teen Spirit probably being the biggest track on that. But, and here's where we're going with this, the cover of that album was an iconic cover. It became an iconic cover, and it featured a photograph, an image of a baby, a few-month-old baby, in a swimming pool, underwater, seemingly chasing a dollar bill. So, there was all kinds of ideas and theories about what it meant and what it was signifying and all of the rest of it. But that's not the point. It seems that the baby in question, who was 3 or 4 months old at the time, has now decided, he's 30 now, so it's 30 years ago it was done. He's now decided it was all done against his will. He had no choice in the matter, and he was exploited and all of this, and he's suing Nirvana and pretty much anybody attached to the whole project. At the time, he's suing them for a couple of $1 million. So let's have a look at this, because this is a little bit interesting. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of what's going on and why it's going on. Well, obviously, apart from the fact that people like to get money, and they'll usually take and grasp at any opportunity to get their hands on it. So let's hop on over here to the Daily Mail. Alrighty, what have we got here? Now, Nirvana's famous Naked Baby sues band for child pornography. Man, now 30, who appeared on iconic cover of 1991 Nevermind album, claims $2.5 million for being, quote, exploited as a minor. Right, so there's the bones of the problem. Well, it's not a problem for you and me, but it might be a problem for people connected with the Nirvana band, or estate as it probably is now. Let's read on. Spencer Eldon, 30, was the baby seen on Nevermind album on the cover in 1991. Eldon said his parents never gave their release for the photos and were not paid. The image was snapped in 1990 in Pasadena when Elder was 4 months old. Cover shows a naked baby swimming underground towards a dollar bill on a string. Eldon is asking for at least $150,000 from each of 17 defendants named in the suit. The album sold more than 30 million for Geffen Records, and that's quite a lot of records. And I guarantee it's still selling. It's still selling. Nirvana's famous Naked Baby has sued the band for child pornography after appearing on the 1991 cover. He's 30 and he's looking for $2.5 million. In the suit filed in Los Angeles federal court, Eldon said his parents never gave their release in writing for the photos and were not paid. There we go. There's the photo there. You see somebody's just stuck in a little black square there to hide to spare his blushes. This is despite 2008 reports that photographer Kirk Weddle paid Eldon's father, Rich, for $200 for 15 seconds of work to appear in the snap, according to NPR. Well, I suppose it only took 15 seconds to chuck the baby into the pool and snappity snap snap, and 200 quid, thanks, and he probably went off and had a few pints with it, or bought himself a shirt or something. Anyway, we don't know. Maybe we'll find out later. Eldon from Los Angeles said that his identity and legal name are forever tied to the commercial sexual exploitation he experienced as a minor, which has been distributed and sold worldwide from the time he was a baby to the present day. He alleged that the band members, record companies and creative personnel had, quote, trafficked his image for profit, according to court documents revealed by CBSLA. In law, non-sexualized naked pictures of infants are not considered to be child pornography. Eldon is asking for 150 grand from 17 defendants, we know that much, which include Cobain's bandmates. Obviously Cobain has passed away, so he's no longer with us. So he's basically hitting everybody else concerned with the thing. Dave Grohl, who we all know went on to form the Foo Fighters and has done very well for himself, and he's suing Cobain's estate. It says here the estate managers Guy Ossery and Heather Parry. Others include photographer Kirk Weddle, the guy who took the actual photo, art director Robert Fisher, and a number of record companies that released or distributed Nevermind in the past 3 decades. There are the iconic band there. Back in their heyday. Right, okay, there. So here we go. There's a picture of our friend Mr. Eldon. There you go. He's pictured recreating in this photo. Same guy. That's the baby. Obviously, he's covered up a little bit more in that shot there. There's a few extra tattoos, but you'll have that over the course of 30 years. People tend to change a bit from when they're 4 months old. Eldon, he's pictured here recreating. He's recreating the famous cover for the 25th anniversary. He claimed that the band basically trafficked his, they were kind of pimping him out there. That's what he's more or less saying. Eldon is also thought to be suing artwork photographer Kirk Weddle and designer Robert Fisher and Nirvana's drummer from 1988 to 1990, Chad Channing. So he was only there for a couple of years, and he's getting this pantsuit off him too. So he's really kind of going with the shotgun effect. He's kind of trying to get everybody into the net and seeing what comes out of it. He said that quote, defendants failed to take reasonable steps to protect him and protect his widespread sexual exploitation and image trafficking. The image was snapped in 1990 in Pasadena. At Pasadena Aquatic Center when he was 4 months old. The famous album cover, which late lead singer Kurt Cobain picked out, shows a naked baby swimming underwater towards the dollar bill. All right, we know that. It's generally believed that they say here that the album cover is a commentary on capitalism, with the addition of a dollar bill on the end of a fishing hook the focus of the baby's attention. Well, yeah, I mean, you can read into whatever you want, but I think that's probably what most people took from that image. Eldon's legal team said in the suit that to ensure the album cover would trigger a visceral sexual response from the viewer, photographer Kirk Weddle activated Spencer's gag reflex, before throwing him underwater in poses, highlighting and emphasizing Spencer's exposed genitals. Fairly digging into it here. They added that as an essential element of a record promotion scheme commonly utilized in the music industry to get attention, where an album covers pose children in sexually provocative manner to gain notoriety, drive sales, and garner media attention and critical reviews. Well, it's fair to say that over the last 30 years, I mean, everything has changed. I mean, radically changed. Standards have changed. Scruples have changed. What's considered acceptable has changed. And that goes for pretty much every facet of life. It's not just, album covers. I mean, you can pretty much look at every facet of current day life. And there's things that were going on back in the 70s, the 80s and 90s, and even, past that you just couldn't touch now. You couldn't touch with a barge pole now. So, yeah, there was a lot of, fruity album covers, and of course, some of the more up and coming or out there bands, they were always pushing envelopes. I mean, they were always doing things that were, they were just below the threshold. One famous example being the iconic Sex Pistols, John Lydon and the boys, and they had brought out their I think it was a single, "God Save the Queen," and it had a picture, a depiction of the reigning monarch at the time in a not all that flattering kind of image. And as far as I can remember, and I barely do remember it, but I think they had to sell that in a brown paper bag. They had to actually put that, you couldn't sell it openly. I don't think they could display it. It was that close to the bone. I think they had to sell it in a plain brown paper bag. Anyway, that's a by the by, so nothing to do with this. But yeah, he's kind of saying, look, okay, by today's standards, that whole thing is bogus. It's all wrong. You can't be at that, which is a fair point. I think by today's standards, no, you couldn't do that now. But this is 1991. We're talking 30 years ago here, and you can't really go back and judge all stuff that went on in previous times, in previous years, by previous generations, by today's standards. You can't get into that. You can't go down that road. I mean, you can if you're chasing $2.5 million. You can try, but I don't know how far is it going to get. Let's read on. According to court docs reviewed by TMZ, the band had promised that a sticker would be placed on the area of the baby's genitals, but didn't place it on the cover. It is unknown what Eldon, who used to be a fine arts student at the Arts Center College of Design in Pasadena, California, does for work. Right, which probably means he doesn't do anything, or at least not very much. His father, Rick, was also an artist and rigged special effects for Hollywood. He let his infant son appear as a model for up-and-coming band's new album. They were up-and-coming at the time, and I think that was their massive breakthrough when Nevermind. I remember at the time Nevermind just kind of burst out, and everybody had it. Well, everybody except me. Seemed to have a copy of it. He told CNN, "They went to the local pool, threw me in the water, and that was it. It was a friend helping a friend kind of thing." And as I said earlier, it only took 15 seconds. They just kind of got him, chucked him into the pool. I assume the other guy, photographer, was underneath and he was snapping away. And I think they did it with a few babies, to be honest. I don't think it was just him. I think they did it with a few different babies, and he just happened to get the gig. Not that he knew a lot about it, but there you go. 200 quid, 15 seconds of work, and off to the shops. Right, among them was photographer. So at the time, Rick shared a studio in Old Town Pasadena with other artists to help pay their rent. So it was kind of like typical arty-farty thing. Lads just all living in digs and squats. He's squatting and eating baked beans and stuff, and probably hadn't got $1 between the whole lot of them. So they were just all helping each other out and getting involved in each other's projects. And into the mix came your man's dad, who happened to have a young baby at the time, and there was a need for a young baby for a project. He said, "Listen, I'll bring my lad along and sure we can chuck him in the pool and see if that works for you." And as it turned out, it did work for him. Rick Eldon told Echo Park, quote, "Babies have gag reflex. If you blow in their face, they hold their breath." There he is again. Right, so here we are. Another picture of, so there's a pattern here. The guy's been dining out on this for the last 30 years, it looks like to me. All grown up, it says here. Spencer recreates his pose on the Nirvana Nevermind album for the 20th anniversary. This spoof of the cover was taken by British photographer John Chappell. So there he is for the 20th anniversary of the album. He's recreating it, and as you go up here, there he is on the 25th anniversary of the album, and he's doing it again. And no doubt he got a few bob for his trouble. Certainly not shy, as you can see, he's wearing shorts and that one. I suppose you know, modesty and all that. Okay, I blew in the quote here from who says this. "I blew in Spencer's face and put him in the water. Kirk was shooting 8 frames a second, so Spencer was in the water for about 2 seconds. So he was basically, chuck him in there, kind of nearly like an Orthodox baptism. They would basically dunk him in, pull him out, fish him out, and he probably just thought he was getting his face washed or something. Since appearing on the cover, Eldon has repeatedly recreated the image, as we can see, as both a teenager and an adult on the 10th, 17th, 20th and 25th anniversaries of the album's release, but in many interviews has shared his mixed feelings about it. Well, you can't have it both ways, lad. I'm just saying, you can't dine out on this as your main shtick and then say, listen, but I don't really like it. Meanwhile, I'll take the money. In 2008, Spencer's father, Rick, who was friends with Weddell, the photographer guy, spoke to NPR and claimed that the photographer didn't let on what he was didn't let on that he was taking pictures for the Nirvana album. Well, did he have to? I don't think anybody knew who Nirvana was at the time. Would it have made any difference if he'd said, listen, I'm taking, this is a shoot for a Nirvana album? You might have said, who the hell is Nirvana? Yeah, knock yourself out. Whatever. It's just that Nirvana became Nirvana, and then I guess all bets were off after that. And Rick said that after the shoot, his family forgot all about it until 2 months later, when Geffen Records sent Spencer a platinum album and a teddy bear. Fair play, lads. Yeah, you're only selling them like hotcakes, which you were good enough to send him a teddy bear. In 2016 interview with Time, to mark the album's 25th anniversary, Spencer said, quote, "It's hard not to get upset when you hear how much money was involved. When I go to a baseball game and think about it, quote, man, everybody at this baseball game has probably seen my little baby penis. I feel like I got a part of my human rights revoked." Well, I think you're kind of over-egging the pudding there. I don't think anybody really cared, to be quite honest. Another picture of Kurt Cobain just having a smoke. Alright. There's another picture of the band. Yep. Okay, Eldon added at the time that he attempted to reach out to the band but never received a response. Nevermind famous ushered in the grunge era. That's right, it kind of sparked that whole thing off. Nirvana were the grunge, the start of grunge, if you like, and it sparked that whole new movement, and sold more than 30 million albums. We know all that. It was also nominated for a Grammy and Best Alternative Music Performance, and its title single, like Smells Like Teen Spirit, earned nods for Best Rock Song and Best Hard Rock Performance. It was huge at the time. I mean, it was really huge, if not the biggest album of '91. It was there or thereabouts. I do remember it, and it was constantly being played on the radio. Especially that main track there. They went on to release a third album in '93. Blah blah blah. Okay, we don't need to say all that. Courtney Cox is there. She's the ex-girlfriend of Kurt Cobain, and she's done rather well out of being his ex-girlfriend over the years. Now, what have we got here from the New York Post from Kyle Smith? His take on it is: Nirvana baby Spencer Eldon is poster child for our victim culture. And what does Kyle say about it? Kyle takes a bit of a dim view here. You'd think the guy, says Kyle, you'd think the guy who was once the baby floating in the swimming pool on the cover of Nirvana's Nevermind, that's the album, would be pretty happy about having a completely unearned place in pop culture history. Some people chase fame their whole lives. Spencer Eldon got it in a 15-minute photo shoot when he was 4 months old, and can boast that he is the most iconic wiener since the formation of Oscar Mayer. Don't know what that... Okay, doesn't matter. How many guys are blessed with a better conversation starter? Well, it's a pretty good chat-up line, in fairness, if you had that to work with. It certainly wouldn't do your game any harm. Quote, "Hello ladies, bet you $5 you've already seen my ding-dong." Well, that's one way of coming at it, I suppose. Don't know if I'd use that angle, but yeah, each to their own. Spencer Eldon goes on, Kyle here. Spencer Eldon is a useful illustration of a widely accepted principle. If you can't get rich by hard work, talent, or dumb luck, the next best method is probably to start screaming out, "I'm a victim. Victimhood is worth something. Sometimes it's worth a lot." Eldon grew up in one country on earth where every doofus, liar and lowlife thinks he can get rich and many of them turn out to be absolutely right. So Kyle hasn't got a lot of time for this whole thing. His family was paid only $200. We heard that for the photo shoot. Well, Eldon is saying they weren't paid at all, although how he would know, having only been four months old at the time, and one would assume he wasn't in on that negotiation, if there was one. I doubt they were referring to him or asking what he thought of it. But it seems to be the lie of the land, or the most reasonable assumption that, I mean, his father was bunged 200 quid for this. It's about right, you know, just chuck the baby into the pool for a few seconds, fish him out, dry him off, couple of $100, you know, what's not to like? He's probably not doing that much that day anyway. Yeah, so his family was paid only $200 for the photo shoot. His dad was a friend of the photographer, and Nevermind earned enough money to build Yankee Stadium out of caviar. Okay, well, you're getting in there, Kyle, building Yankee Stadium out of caviar. Fair enough. Right, so Eldon figures he's entitled to a piece of the action, which he does, $2.5 million worth of the action. He's claiming that the Nevermind cover constituted child porn, of which he was the unwitting victim. Using a federal law, he's suing everybody, from the record company to the band, hoping to extract 150 big ones from all the parties. The photo isn't porn unless all pictures of naked babies are, and far from causing him, quote, extreme and permanent emotional distress, with physical manifestations, whatever that means, interference with his normal development and educational progress, etc. He was happy to dine out on having been Nirvana baby until about 10 seconds ago, says Kyle, which you can't argue with really. He was quite happy to roll along with the train until he came to the point where he says, nah, I think I'll just sue everybody connected with it. In 2016, in a 25th anniversary recreation of the photo shoot, he even volunteered to do it naked again, says Kyle, before thinking better of the idea and posing in swim trunks. Alright, so he wasn't shy. Eldon's dumb lawsuit, goes on, Kyle, represents the nexus of three impulses in America, in which America is the undisputed champion: the hunger for undeserved riches, moronic claims of victimhood, and creative lawyering. Right, yes indeed. Okay, so Kyle's not impressed with the Nirvana baby there, and I have to say I'm not all that impressed myself either. Now, alright, let's move on over to the Twitter sphere. So let's see if we got any nice, interesting little takes from our friends over in the Twitter sphere. Usually we have. Let's see what the wags have to say about it. What's the general consensus? Hashtag Nirvana baby. Okay, so I fear no beer at I fear no beer says, is it just me, or does anyone else see the irony of these photos? And there you have yeah, there you go. Basically, the guy's been dining out on this practically his whole life. Yeah, okay, that's from I Fear No Beer. Well done. Who else have we got? From Samar, at Samar Minaj. Well, today this poster has become an art with true meaning. Nirvana baby going for money. Well, can't argue with that, Samar. He's certainly bringing the iconic photograph into real life. Yeah, definitely chasing the money there, chasing the dollar there. Okay, and centre of my own attention. That centre of my own attention. There you go. Another album cover from back in the day, 70s I think it was. And she says here, Led Zeppelin is waiting for the papers to be served. And as you can see there, there's a few precocious children there, and one wonders, will they be taking the same action? Vinyl Monger. At Vinyl Monger, he says he didn't want to get his willy out this time. Well, as it says in the article earlier on, he actually did want to get his willy out this time, but it seems he thought better of it, or somebody thought better of it. So there you go. Original and 25 years later. One with swimming trunks, one sans swimming trunks. And here we have Emma at M versus the Void. So the Nirvana baby is suing Nirvana for the Nevermind cover, but also has staged countless recreations, and the lawsuit is only happening after the Nirvana baby wanted to do an art show with Nirvana and had to speak to their managers. Alright, cool, got it, says Emma. Alright, so there might be another layer to all this. Alright, so what have we got here? Okay, we got that's him basically doing his pose in like a million different ways at a million different times from Bad Spit. The guy who was on the baby of Nirvana's Nevermind album cover, says Bad Spit, certainly worked overtime through the years to remind us he was the baby of the Nevermind album cover. Yes. What's this thing say here? A little bit from GQ. In the past you've said it was cool. When did that change? That I assume is from an interview with Mr. Eldon, the famous baby. Just a few months ago, said I assume Eldon, when I was reaching out to Nirvana to see if they wanted to be part of my art show. Alright, okay, so we're getting a bit deeper into this now. So a few months ago, seemingly, is he an art student or a fine art student, or he's something in that genre. I was getting referred to their managers and their lawyers. Why am I still on their cover if I'm not that big of a deal? Why did you reach out to them? He replies, I was trying to do an art show with the photographer who took the picture. I was asking if they wanted to put a piece of art in the effing thing. At least it was a Nirvana album and not, say, Nickelback. Okay, right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but the guy's dead. I assume this is Eldon again. But the guy's dead and they're still selling his music. It's like some joint corporation now. Alright, so I think finally, the final analysis, I think thanks to the Twitter sphere, thanks to the great luminaries on the Twitter sphere, we have got to the nub of what is going on here with the Nirvana baby. Right, so to sum it all up, he's some kind of art dude, fine art guy, and he was putting on some exhibition, or he was doing an exhibition, or he was trying to, I don't know, flog some of his art. And he reached out to Nirvana because this has been his shtick for 30 years, his main claim to fame. As I think we've established, he certainly never stopped plugging it, and no doubt he probably used it every time he chatted up a girl in his life. So he reached out to them and said, listen, do you want to be part of this whole thing? Do you want to maybe give me a bit of a boost, give me a bit of a plug? And they kind of just ignored him or told him to F off. They weren't giving him any airplay at all. So then he basically got the hump and said, right, well, F the lot of yous, I'm just going to sue yous. How do you like them apples? So that's I think at the nub of this whole situation. So basically the guy was happy to dine out on the album cover, and then when they wouldn't basically throw him a bone for his art exhibition, he basically says, right, well, F you and the horse you rode in on. So, all right then. Yeah, there's always a reason for these things. If you dig down deep enough, you'll always find somebody's peeved or pissed off for something. And I think that's where the nub of that matter is. He was quite happy to ride on the coattails, even though, sure, as you know, if somebody didn't tell him that was him in the picture, how would he even know? I'm guessing he wouldn't. But anyway, that aside, so he was quite happy to just chug along with the whole thing, to ride that train until he reached out one day wanting a bit of a plug from the estate or from the band or from whoever, the photographer guy that did it, or the band surviving members, or whatever. He wanted a plug. He wanted them to give him a bit of help, bit of support. And they just basically weren't interested, didn't care, didn't return his calls, didn't give a shit about his art, basically. And then he says, right, okay, if that's the way it is, then F you and F your album cover and F the horse you rode in on, and I'm just going to sue yous all into oblivion. Now, will it get anywhere? Probably not. But still, that's, I think, what's going on here. Do you agree with him? Do you not agree with him? Was he exploited? Was he not exploited? Was 200 quid too little, or too little a payment for such a few seconds of work? I don't know. I reckon his dad took it, went down to the pub and had a few pints. So there you go. The Nirvana baby, suing Nirvana. What next?